doing?
40?
45? 45. I'm not ready for 40. 45, ready. Splat!
Splat! Splat!
Yo, what's up? Welcome to the podcast. So today we're doing... too casual.
There's
Right,
my cold
okay.
open.
Okay, I need some energy.
And again.
Hi, hello, and welcome to the greatest of all time podcast, or GOATS podcast for short. Your weekly dose of three white guys arguing over the important things in life, such as, is Gandalf a magician?
Yes.
Will Vinny ever find a job? And why
Maybe.
does Sebek love to bring up the Nazis all the damn time?
Just think I need.
I'm Vinny, the cute one, of course, and I'm going to be your host for tonight. And I'm joined, as always, by my two good chums, Mork and Sebek. How are the two of you doing?
Oh, I thought you were going to introduce us as like what ones we were in the band.
You're just the other ones. I'm the
Oh.
front man. You're the other ones. You're the drummer. You're both the drummer.
Michael, you're,
Right.
you're the one who gets kicked out for sex offending.
Yeah.
You're the one who gets like a 14-year-old groupie pregnant and we have to hush it.
Yeah, but you'll be the one who in 20 years' time gets ousted as a neo-Nazi.
Mate, it's just part of the look. I just
Terrible
really
band
like,
we formed.
I just really like trench coats.
How are we doing, though? How are we doing?
I'm good. A bit of a weird week, actually.
Mm?
Bit of a strange one. Do you ever
No.
do that thing like where you're watching TV and then you see a meme on TV as it's happening,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and then you're like, oh shit, and you're like this, and then you're like, oh, hang on, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio in that meme, pointing at the meme that's on the TV, and
Yeah.
then you're like,
You're
that's
doing
like
the meme.
yeah, you're like, that's like meme inception, right? And then you're like, oh shit, who was in that movie? Leonardo DiCaprio. And you're like, fuck. And it's just, do you know what I mean?
That was a weird week for you, then.
Okay,
well,
it sounds like
yeah,
a lot's been
that.
happening in your day.
Well, but yeah, not
This
only
is like
that,
when you go to see an old
obviously.
person and the most exciting thing they've done is like gone to Morrison's.
Yeah, but not just that. Because today, I found out that they don't do Asbos anymore. The fuck's up with that? So,
You should
Weird
frame
week.
yours. It's probably worse.
really weird week. I wish I had an Asbo.
I know, that's
I
the
was
thing,
never worthy.
You were saying it on the group chat like it was a real tragedy. You're like, oh, I'll never get one now.
Yeah,
You know?
it was like a badge of honor. You heard someone from like the other street over's got an Asbo. You're like, really?
Champion of the people.
God.
You beat up a kid on the street. What a lad. Legend.
Like
Oh,
for
God.
smashing up, you know that phone box down on the main road where I used to live in. If you like smash that up, you'd get an Asbo and you'd be a legend forever.
Oh,
Whipped in hero.
Yeah.
How about
So-
you, Sebek? How have you been?
Oh, well, speaking of Inception, I've just had the worst jet lag, so it's just been like I've been in Inception. I just keep having these moments where I'm like, have I done that already? Like, me and Luce have had 3 or 4 times in the last 3 days have been like, you know that thing I text you? No, you just imagined it. Or like,
Wow.
you know that conversation we had? Nope. And like, obviously one of us is forgotten. So like, one of us is just, do you know what, if I'm okay today, the last 2, and this is such like a privileged problem, I'm so aware of that. Like, I got to go on
Yeah,
holiday.
but it's still
it's-
like an annoying thing you have to deal with, for sure.
But yeah, like, I literally spent the last like 2 days. It's like, I don't know how to explain this, but I don't know if you've ever been under anaesthetic or had some sort of recreational anaesthetic, but there's a moment where you come back from being really out, where your like inner monologue comes back, but your outer monologue isn't quite there yet. So like you know what you want to do and what you want to say, but like your body and your like outward voice isn't like doing it properly. I felt like that for like 2 days, and I've been riding a motorbike to work, so it's probably not a good thing. But like,
what is it like jet lag? Like I don't understand. Why are you like that?
well,
Like is it real? Like I've never had it, so I don't understand.
Well, it's basically like, so you've shifted time zones, so like the more out it is, the worse it is, and it's also worse going east to west. So like if you turn up somewhere and you feel like it's supposed to be mid-morning, but it's actually really late at night, it kind of fucks with your like circadian rhythm, and it just makes you feel really ill. Whereas if you turn up somewhere and it's just like you've woken up really early, it's not as bad. So basically, if you go to America, on the way there, it's fine. Like me and Luce, like we just woke up kind of early on the first day. You just feel like you've got loads of energy because you've woken up and it's 7 o'clock, but your brain feels like you should have been up hours ago. So you kind of always feel like you've had a lie-in. Whereas when you come back, you kind of always feel like you've woken up at 1 a.m. and you just feel insane. Like it's like your brain's telling you it's like midnight or like 3 a.m. you're supposed to be in bed, and it's actually like 10 o'clock, and you just feel really weird.
Wow.
Do you think there's a possibility it could be like they do it on purpose when you're on the plane so that you just don't realise that the world's flat?
It could be the anaesthetic they give you on the plane, so you don't realise the world's flat. And that's the other thing. I love travelling, but planes fuck me up. Like from the moment it takes off, I'm quite like nauseous, travel sicky. So the plane's vibrating. I never eat because I can't keep the food down. So I just do like however long the flight is. I just go without food. So by the time I've gotten off, I haven't eaten in like 12 hours. I'm really tired. I haven't drunk enough water. I've been in like a weird pressurised tube for 12 hours and I just feel insane. And it's also the wrong time of day. So it just fucking ruins me.
Yeah, but you're doing the right thing, mate. Eating's cheating, remember that.
Eating is cheating.
Remember Creamfields 2016, mate. Eating's cheating.
I just remember you being sick. That's all I remember.
I don't remember that.
I remember Michael being sick and a guy falling in a cup of piss.
Oh, yeah.
And then being wheeled off in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah. The wheelbarrow.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Creamfields, I went to a rave on Saturday with the boys. And it was great fun, but my legs did not work the next day because we were there for like 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
I was fucking shattered.
Mate, you know what?
Dance lag you had.
This is the sign that you're getting older, right, Vinny? It's when you come back for a rave and you're talking more about your legs aching than your jaw aching. That's when you know you've got old.
From all that talking, you mean?
Yeah, from all that talking.
Please cut this because my mum watches this.
I will. Don't worry, I will. Don't worry.
Anyway.
True though, Seb. True though.
I'm going to do some housekeeping quickly before we get on with the show. So if you like this podcast and if you'd like to support it, you can give us a cheeky little follow on Instagram or even a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. But thank you for the sound effects. But just in case you'd, for some reason, like to help fund our extremely low-budget show, we also have a Patreon. Right, yeah, should I get right into it?
Fucking get up
right
in there,
into
B-dog.
it, mate.
Right out the bumhole.
It's not a good way to send me out.
Mate.
This is tawny now. There's no denying that performance and arts are deeply, deeply ingrained in what it is to be human. Although most of the times these are enjoyed in a carefully curated and produced end product, such as a studio album or a film, seeing people perform their passions live and in person is unquestionably one of the finest ways to spend an afternoon or evening. Whether it's Whitney Houston somehow hitting those high notes that only your dog can hear, or Jim Morrison stretching an already over 10-minute song even longer because, quite frankly, he was off his nut on something. I love a good live performance. So, which out of the two of you wants to let me know what you think is the greatest live performance of all time? First,
Me,
Sebek,
please.
you're up.
Go on then.
Thank you
Let's
very
hear
much.
let's hear the second place before we get to the winner. That's normally how they do it.
I realised then that I've got to stop just signalling to you on this audio format because
Yeah.
I didn't say me. I just put my finger up in the air. No, thank you very much, VDog. I'm going to have to speed through this one because, as I said to you before we started, this was one of those ones where I was really passionate about it and then I got a bit nervous I wasn't going to do it justice, and now I have 4 pages of notes. So let's go, baby!
Quick, speed run.
Go whenever.
So that time limit really is going to do it. I should also point out to video viewers that since coming back and being quite tired, my weird Twitch thing has come back a little bit. So if you see me fucking going a bit weird, I'm fine.
I was wondering what that
What
was.
weird Twitch?
I sometimes I don't really do it anymore. But when I was like when I went, this isn't
when you
part
when
of
you
the
used to be
presentation. Stop
really
the timer.
autistic.
When I
No,
was
the time
really,
it's fine, yeah.
when I was really ill, when I was like 20 and I got like well depressed and that, I got this like really bad twitch when I get like a bit tired and
nervous.
anxious and nervous.
Nervous
And
twitch, yeah.
it kind of has gone away now. But
I've not seen it. What is it? Go on, do it.
well, I can't just do it. It doesn't work like that. It just
How am I
Do
supposed
it.
to know what it is then?
Twitch
it's just
on
like
command.
it's just like I don't know. It's just like me doing that, but I don't know. I just move my
That's
head.
not, I
like
thought
that.
you were going to be like, ah.
No, I mean,
No.
I did used to, when it was really bad, I used to make this noise, but I can't do the noise
Oh, right.
when I'm not. It was
Like
like,
consciously.
yeah, it sounded like someone going, whoop, but that's not what it was. I just go like, make this weird. Anyway, it's fine. We can cut all of
Okay.
this. This is
Okay.
all shit. Anyway,
I'm ready to go.
now, for me, this is one of those ones where I had to make a choice because
Wow.
the phrase greatest live performance is ripe for a memeing. So I have to come clean. Yes, I did send Vinny a video I recently found called Weezer's Blue Album, but it's me and my friend trying to sing everything from memory, which is fucking incredible. And as the title suggests, it is the entirety of Weezer's Blue Album sung a cappella by 2 teenagers from memory.
In like
It's-
20 minutes. I think they cut a lot of it out by mistake.
It's so good. It's so good. The channel is run by this like young American lad who calls himself DJ Goonspoon, and he led me down a right rabbit hole because he linked his Letterboxd account to his Google account. I don't know if you know what Letterboxd is, but it's like
Nah.
Rotten Tomatoes. So you could basically people leave film reviews. And he linked that to his YouTube account. I was like, all right, I've got to go and have a look at this. Now, Spoongoon, or DJ Spoongoon, to give him his full title, has only left 4 reviews in the 3 years that he's been signed up to Letterboxd. Those reviews are for the following. The Dark Knight, amazing.
Classic.
The Menu, amazing. Citizen Kane, amazing. And Nicki Minaj, My Time Again. Now, that pulled me further down the rabbit hole. Because I was like, why is this guy reviewed 3 groundbreaking things and 1 weird thing? So I looked it up, and his movie review went as follows. In all caps, it said, "This is not a review of the Nicki Minaj movie. Instead, I'm reviewing True Detective Season 1. And this-
Right.
Great show.
Great show. And then he just went on to write several passionate paragraphs about his love for True Detective Season 1. I have no idea what's going on there.
Sweet.
He also gave Citizen Kane half a star, and his entire review said, again in all caps, more like Shittizen Kane. So this kid is just banging. But I didn't pick Weezer's Blue Album, but it's me and my friend trying to sing everything from memory. I
Okay.
also didn't pick Emi Martinez's performance in the 2021 Copa America final, or his performance in the 2023 World Cup final, although they do have to be mentioned as GOAT-worthy. No.
Yeah.
I didn't pick any of those, which means, I guess, I must have taken it seriously. Blech. But no, I did.
Boo.
Yes, today I have actually picked what I believe to be the greatest performance from probably the greatest performer of all time. Someone known as the king of their genre. Someone whose singing talent and iconic dance moves are legendary. And someone who blended black and white culture to bring the world together. I am, of course, talking about the legendary Michael Jackson.
I thought you were going to say Elvis Presley.
I
No,
thought you were
I'm
gonna say Elvis
joking. He's a
Presley.
fucking pedo. I'm talking about Elvis Presley.
Allegedly.
Wow. I'm keeping
With an
that
asterisk,
in. That
allegedly.
was cracking, mate.
No, I love Elvis Presley. Now, it's not something I talk about very often because people get a bit judgy about it because some people say he was a bit of a pedo. It was the 50s.
Everyone was a pedo, I guess.
Everyone was a pedo, I guess. Also, right, I'm just going to stop the timer, or don't.
Okay.
But
Fuck's
here's
sake.
the thing.
Okay.
She was 14 when they met. Now, that's not good. No, that's not good. That's not good, okay? I'm not saying that's okay. But they didn't get married until she was 21.
That's
Alright
good.
then.
So,
Can we
So
just
they-
move on from this?
so-
Yeah, so he just groomed her
Wait.
for like 7 years and then married her.
no, because he was very
Yeah.
Christian, which means they probably didn't have sex until she was 21.
Oh, she was very Christian, so they didn't have sex. So all those pedo priests, they must all be fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, there was a bit in my head there where I was like, "Who do I? I'll throw the priest a bone. Well, not. I'll give him a.
They've
I
had
don't
a
know.
few-
Yeah,
they'd
don't
be
throw him
too
a bone,
many
mate.
bones, if you ask
They'll
me.
eat that.
Now, I have
Actually,
loved
you're too old.
Elvis since I was a kid. There's just something about his charisma and his kind of vulnerability and his story that I just love. I really fell in love with it. And it makes it difficult because someone like Elvis Presley, it's hard to put his life into like a 15-minute presentation, especially when I wasted the first 4 on memes. So I'm not going to focus on his whole life. I'm just going to try and give you the context behind what I believe is his greatest performance. So Elvis was born on the 8th of January 1935 in Tupelo, Mississippi, in the deep south of America, and he moved to Tennessee as a teenager. Now, he was from a very poor working class family, and as a result, he grew up in majority black neighborhoods, and he went to what would be considered at the time black churches and grew up singing gospel music. As a young man, he was a truck driver. He also helped his Jewish neighbors by working as something called a Shabbos Goy, which is someone who performs work-related tasks for Jewish business owners when they are religiously forbade from working on the Sabbath.
Okay.
Had no idea that was even a thing, but that is a thing.
Yep.
He also, as a teenager and a young man, spent loads of time in this place called Beale Street in Memphis, which was an up-and-coming black neighborhood that promoted black music and black fashion. And aged 18, Elvis was picked up by a Sun Records producer who famously said, "If I could find a white man who had a black sound and a black feel, I could make $1 billion." It's also important to note that I replaced the N-word with the word black. Not a nice guy.
Oh, right.
Not a nice guy.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
And, well, he found Elvis, and Elvis was the success that everyone thought it was. And it's important to note, that is incredibly exploitative. And Elvis himself often referenced that, and that he felt that he was he always tried very hard to promote and pay tribute to black culture and the black artists that promoted him, which I'll go into this in a bit. But one of the reasons that's not very well documented is not because he didn't say it, but it's because at the time that was considered controversial and his management didn't want people to know about it. So he actually gave a lot of interviews where he was super anti-segregation, super pro-black culture, but a lot of those interviews would have never publicised because it didn't look good for his brand, which is fucking outrageous. But I just wanted to make that
It was
really
the
clear.
50s, yeah.
Now, because of Elvis's sort of this blend of black culture and a white face, he was an absolute overnight success. His first single, That's Alright, topped the local charts, and he almost instantly began touring. I feel like the term overnight success is kind of overused, but he really did. Like, the record started playing, and it just went off like wildfire. And it was at his live shows that Elvis became the phenomenon that people know Elvis as today. His gyrating hips, his shaking legs caused excitement and hysteria and outrage in equal parts. Famously, he would start every show with his iconic song Hound Dog, and the crowd would just lose it from there. And he quickly became quite a controversial figure. Now, as I just said, people like to say that controversy was because of his hip shaking, but it was actually more because of his relationship with the black community and his very close friendship with artists like B.B. King, who Elvis was actually friends with before they both got famous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was really good friends with B.B. King.
The king of blues and the king of rock and roll. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's mad. And in a time of racial segregation, Elvis was causing uproar kind of by accident. He would go to stuff like quote-unquote black-only nights at local bars and clubs just because he preferred the vibes there. Just because they were his friends, that's where he liked to hang out.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was a massive statement. And what kind of makes it even more powerful, one of the reasons I really like him, is he wasn't trying to make a statement, he was just hanging out with his mates. And that was just too much for people to handle. Now, cut forward a few years, Elvis has become an international success under the watchful eye of Colonel Tom Parker, his agent. Now, Colonel Tom Parker was not a real colonel, but was a real cunt. So, now...
That's a great line.
Thank you. Now, the peak of his career, in 1958, Elvis was actually causing so much controversy by shaking his hips and hanging out with his black mates that in an effort to try and silence him, he was drafted into the US Army. Now, famously, Elvis was offered a kind of honorary role where he could have stayed in the US and continued his music career, but he turned that down and said he just wanted to serve as a regular soldier. He was like, if I've got to do it, I've got to do it. Everyone else has to do it. I'm not going to fucking ride off my fame.
Was there conscription at the time?
There was. It wasn't... So it's a weird one. There was a draft, so it was more like getting drafted for like jury duty. Like you weren't 100% going to go, but if they picked you, you had to go.
Was there the Korean War happening at that point? Was there
there was no war. So he went out to Germany and served 2 years in Germany. And there's loads of stories, you can look into it. You know, he was a good soldier, and he apparently got on really well for all the other guys. He famously donated his army salary to charity. He didn't take any money, and he would spend money on like all his barrack mates. He got them all extra uniforms. He paid to have TVs and stuff installed. He just wanted everyone to have a good time, and apparently, you know, he did really well in the army. And I think it's been widely noted that it was actually one of the happier times of his life when he could just sort of be a normal guy. Anyway, he served 2 years in the army, met Priscilla, who was 14, and
moving on.
And during this time, a steady stream of music was released to kind of keep him relevant. But when he returned back, things really went to shit. It's a time that people refer to as Elvis getting, quote, lost in Hollywood. Pardon me. Colonel Tom Parker, or Tom Parker, I'm not even going to call him Colonel because he wasn't a fucking Colonel. He was just a cunt. Was hell-bent on not allowing Elvis to cause any more controversy and effectively fuck up this cash cow that he'd found in Elvis. So instead, he pushed Elvis into a much more manageable and contained career, which was in Hollywood. Because if Elvis was doing live performances, he had the ability to say and do things that were off script. Whereas if it's in a film, you can just create his image. And with this, Elvis was pushed effectively into this non-stop cycle of recording a shitty B-movie that had a accompanying album that was then released, and it just became a cash cow. The first one did quite well, the second one did a bit less well, and by the late 60s, he was just a joke. He'd gone from being this controversial guy who was breaking down barriers and being a sex symbol to just this kind of boring has-been. And compared to the likes of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, he was just a bit old. And that pretty much would have been it for Elvis. But as we know, truly great people will always have that little spark left in him. And just like Messi can still pull it out the bag in his mid-30s and score an absolute screamer when he needs to, so can Elvis Presley, or could Elvis Presley.
Score a screamer?
He did score
in his mid-30s.
Because completely disillusioned with his career and having not had a top 10 hit in almost a decade, Colonel Parker made a mistake. He thought it would be a good idea to get Elvis to do a live TV special. And this was the first time Elvis had had the opportunity to do something live where he could set the script in over a decade. Now, and Elvis initially thought this was just going to be another way for Parker to milk him. He was like, I don't want to do this. And fair enough, that's exactly what Parker had planned. He even had like a set of Christmas jumpers that he was going to release alongside the Christmas special. And he was like, I don't want to do this. This is shit. But then Elvis met the show's producer and the show's director called Bob Finkel and Steve Binder. And those guys were like, look, we know that you've been having a shit time. We can all see, the whole music industry knows that you've just been milked for a cash cow. You're clearly unhappy. You're like a fucking drug addict. Why don't you just do something you want to do? And they said, why don't you just fucking tell that old cunt to just do one, and instead go back to your roots and do proper rock and roll.
Don't do that when it gets to 1 minute.
What is it?
Sorry.
Seb will love it. Vinny, Seb will fucking love it if you do that at 1 minute.
He's like, go back to your roots. They were like, go back to your roots and sing proper rock and roll, sing fucking gyrate your hips and just go for it. And this was a landslide moment because for the first time in a decade, he decided he didn't give a fuck what Colonel Tom Parker thought. He wanted to do new stuff. He wanted to do old stuff. And most importantly, he wanted to give the greatest performance he could. And so, on December 3rd, 1968, NBC released a 1-hour show simply titled Elvis. A show that is more commonly called the Elvis Combat. A show that is more commonly remembered as the Elvis Comeback Special. And I truly believe that this is the greatest live performance of any performer in history. The show consisted of nothing Tom Parker wanted. It was just Elvis in a tight leather suit with a red guitar, his hair slicked back like he was back in the old days, singing his fucking lungs out, gyrating his hips and controlling the crowd like he was back at the peak of his powers. And I implore you to go and watch the videos of this. Partly because there's something to note, which is that Tom Parker, in an effort to kind of fuck it, never actually invited a studio audience to watch it. He was supposed to and he just didn't. And so the producers of the show just went out onto the street and into a local restaurant and just got people in. They were people who didn't care about Elvis, didn't know him. They just were come to watch a free show. And they were screaming and crying and throwing stuff on stage by the end of it because he was just unstoppable. In fact, when Elvis finished, he was so sweaty. The thing was supposed to be 3 different sets. He was so sweaty at the end of his first set, he had to be pulled out of his jacket and trousers so they could be washed and dried before the next set of fans came in.
Oh my God.
That's
now,
gross.
I can't do the special justice. I can just give you the context. But what I will say is there is nothing more captivating, more inspiring and more bone-chillingly brilliant than watching the greatest performer who has ever lived throw off the chains that had been holding him down for decades and let out a decade's worth of pent-up frustration and burning desire to perform. The pinnacle of that is the final song of the special. The show was supposed to end on a Christmas song, specifically requested by Tom Parker, as I said, to tie in with the Christmas merch he had planned for the holidays. However, Elvis went against his direct orders and performed I Can Dream, a tribute to the recently assassinated Martin Luther King. When Elvis performed this and watched it back, he said, very famously, I'm never going to sing another song I don't believe in, and I'm never going to make another movie I don't believe in. It was the epitome of everything his manager wanted him to avoid. It was political, it was heartfelt, it was controversial, and it was honest. And it proved to everyone that Elvis was back.
We're only 45 seconds over. Not too bad.
Bam!
Nice one,
Nice.
Seb.
Hell
That'll
yeah.
be the greatest live performance of all time until I do my pick, unfortunately.
We'll see, Mork. We'll see. Yeah, that was really good. I really like that, mate. I really like that.
I don't really know shit about Elvis, to be fair.
Elvis always reminded me a lot of Eminem because they were both ridiculously popular because they brought black music to a white audience, which is there's more white people in America, so it did so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's it's like crossing the border, isn't it, of getting like both audiences in.
100%.
Yeah.
There's also something I meant to put in, but I forgot. I missed the line. He really famously, in that, he made this statement where he's like, in the comeback special, he has this moment where he says, "I really like the new music by guys like the Beatles, but it's important to remember that rock and roll is just rhythm and blues with more guitars," or something like that. He's just like, it all came from black people, and if you like rock and roll, you have to like rhythm and blues. And that's like a super powerful moment. And again, it was like everything people wanted him not to do, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna do it."
Yeah, good man. Stand up for what you believe in. Don't fucking listen to those record labels. Don't listen to Colonel Gaddafi or whatever his name was.
Oh yeah, let's call him fucking Colonel Gaddafi. He's a right cunt. I hate him. And yeah, he also was the reason that in his later... So Colonel Tom had like a gambling addiction, and that's why Elvis was contractually roped into doing a bunch of Vegas shows, was to pay off Colonel Tom's gambling debts.
Interesting.
Which he never wanted to do. He wanted to go on tour, and basically Colonel Tom said he would sue him if he stopped working for him and would sue him for everything he had. So he just got forced into doing these Vegas shows, which eventually killed him. And if you want to watch another really good Elvis performance, sorry, I know I went over, but I'm just rambling now. Watch his last ever filmed live performance, which is him singing, what's it called? Unchained Melody. I think it's called The Riverside. It's like his last live performance, and it's heartbreaking. He's like a mumbling wreck. He can't get his words out.
Yeah.
And yet, when he starts singing, it is pitch perfect, absolutely belting it out. And then he finishes and he's just like out of breath. He can't get himself together. But he just wanted to perform. That's all he ever wanted to do. Anyway.
I think the only thing I know about Elvis is that bit in Forrest Gump, I reckon.
I've never seen Forrest Gump.
Oh,
Really?
it's a pretty good film.
Yeah,
Pretty good
he
film.
like watches it and he's like doing his thing with like his little... He's got like a little clacky leg, hasn't he? He's got like them things on his legs, and he's like clicking his leg. He's like, "Ain't nothing but a hound dog," like this, like clicking his thing. Right? Okay. Anyway, but
Is it bad to do an impression of someone doing an impression of a disabled person? Because obviously Tom Hanks isn't disabled.
No.
Yeah.
And the person, he's not doing an impression of a disabled person because Forrest Gump's not real.
Well, exactly, but like neither of the fucking black guys in Little Britain, but they still did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's blackface has got its own horrible history.
Yeah.
You shouldn't touch it. I
What
think.
about disabled face?
I don't think that exists, so I don't think it's as touchy.
I'm gonna make disabled face.
Don't do it.
So make it a thing.
I don't know, Jenny. Is that bad? I don't know. I was just great in the film. Anyway,
That's just an impression. I think that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's
That's an
fine.
impression.
You have our seal of approval.
Fantastic. Well, I think that leads nicely into the middle section where we don't have a quiz
oh,
this time. We have a part where we all talk about our feelings. We get to know each other.
Nah, fuck that.
So-
See ya.
So the question I have on my lips is, what is the best live performance you've ever been to? This is what I want to know.
I can't.
why?
What do you mean?
It's my thing, innit?
What?
I can't tell you because then I'll ruin my whole thing in a minute.
You went to that?
When-
No. One you saw live in person. You were there in the flesh. You did not go to that thing. You still got the thing that you told me about. You did not go to that thing. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, there might be a bit of my script talks about the thing that I did see.
Okay, then we won't go to you then.
No, I can say some.
Is there anything else? Any other live performances? I've got a couple I want to talk about.
Alright, you go first while I think of one.
So both of them were in Bristol. One of them is a bit more recent. It was actually a couple months after I moved to Bristol, and my friend came down from London, and I remember we were like, oh, let's go see some sort of live performance somewhere, because Bristol always has something going on, like music-wise. But none of it looked super interesting, except for this one person who was this Japanese bloke called Ichi, and none of us had ever heard of him. And but he just sounded so interesting. The description was like, he was just like this performer that made his own instrument and made this like kind of. I listened to his music and it kind of sounded like Nintendo music, I'd say, like kind of
Nice.
like Animal Crossing-esque music.
Right.
And so we went there, and I was not expecting anything. Basically, I was just there, have a few drinks, whatever. It'd be music's music. It would be fun anyway. But oh my fucking god, it was incredible. It changed my life.
Wow.
So first of all, he just comes in through like the people on the. It was like a small little like box we were in, like a little sort of off-piece bit at the back of a bar. He just comes in on pogo sticks, just past everyone, does a little like turnaround, like does a little like loop-de-loop, and then goes on stage, and then just starts. He just pulls out this fuck off massive contraption that he's made. It's full of all these like woo, like this crazy shit. Like there's lots of there's a piano there, there's like strings there, other strings there, there's like percussion all over the place, and I just sit there for like an hour or 45 minutes, whatever it was, and I was just blown away at what the fuck I was watching. It was incredible. And at the end, well, not the end, it was like halfway through or towards the end, he like randomly just after doing one of his songs, he just picked up this little bow and arrow, and it was like an arrow with like a plunger on the end. Just went, and then like flew the arrow, and above our heads, he hit like a gong that was like above our heads. What the fuck was that? And it just like he got it like perfectly, and everyone's like,
That's sick.
That's sick.
yeah,
That's so good.
I found him afterwards, and I was like, that was literally the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm gonna buy you a beer, and he was
my
like
fucking
such a
God.
like polite, modest Japanese man, like as you'd expect. And like,
Yeah.
it was so good.
That's so
That's
sick.
fucking sick.
I can never top that. I can only think of a few good ones that I've seen that I can just rattle off. Like Mr. Traumatic in Plymouth was really good. That was a fucking great night. He's a wicked MC. Who else was I thinking of? Another drum and bass one. Do you remember that night we had in Move, Vinny, in Exeter? And
Oh yeah.
this guy's DJing. It's a drum and bass set. He's playing
Eddie
whatever.
Solo.
Something like that, yeah. And then this randomly, like, imagine drum and bass, right? The fast pace, like, boo, 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 boo. And then randomly some guy just comes in from the back with a fucking accordion.
Yeah.
And he's like going.
Yeah, he's like playing
live.
accordion.
Yeah,
to
he's
the drum and
playing. He's
bass.
playing the like wub wub, but on the accordion, like. And it's like, oh yeah, that was fucking crazy.
He
That
went
was
for like
mental.
20 minutes, and it was like,
Yeah, it
holy
was so.
fuck, this
and
is
he's
so
just
good.
like, because he's got to keep up with like 140 beats per minute. He's like.
It was so good. Yeah, I completely
Yeah.
forgot about that. That was a great night.
That was so sick. And then, even though he didn't rap, and I sorry, Vinny, to bring it up again.
Yeah.
Seeing Snoop Dogg live in Exeter was fucking sick. It was really cool, and because I
bet.
got to go up to this little VIP bit as well, which is pretty cool. So I was only like, I don't know,
Yeah, it must have been
meter
fun.
there away from Snoop Dogg. And DJ Yella, he was really good as well, because I was the only one brave enough to get up on stage and ask his bouncers if I could see him, and he was like, yeah, no worries. He was I would suspect that, because you said you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
I expected the bouncers to be like, fuck off, and then he was like, nah, and I just like put my arm around him, took a picture of him, got him to sign my little Straight Out of Compton album. He was just putting his headphones on to start his set. I felt a bit rude, but he was sound, so it was fine.
No, he was like, do you remember also we bumped into him after the show as well? Leaving.
Did we?
Yeah, you fist bumped him and gave him like a shoulder bump hug.
Oh, I was probably well pissed by that point, but I know I vaguely remember being like, man, that was fucking so good, yeah? Also, my live performance in the queue waiting for Snoop Dogg rapping to this random guy who filmed me and put it on Facebook was pretty good. Some guy randomly tagged me in it in the morning saying, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, that's cool."
What about you, Seth?
That's me of mine.
I have to, well, obviously, first and foremost, shout out to MC Dilf and DJ V-Dog,
Oh yeah.
who put a couple of absolute bangers out there. Down the Woods and In My Living Room, both fucking clouting performances. I don't know if they live up to Beyonce, but
Hey, we smashed
sure
it
about
out,
that?
surely,
Nah,
yeah.
I have to say, yeah, probably two best performances I've ever seen in my life. Hobson, who I saw at Electric Underground, and he was fucking incredible.
Oh, yeah, you said about Hobson.
He was
good, yeah.
off the chain. He was just fucking on one. He brought this like crazy energy. He stopped about halfway through and went on like a Kanye style rant about how his Lamborghini didn't make him happy.
Sweet.
Then his chain.
That's so
broke.
Hobson. That's so Hobson.
I know. And then his chain broke and he threw it into the crowd. Then he got a guy up on stage who he'd met on Lad Bible. The whole thing was fucking crazy. He crowd surfed. I touched his foot. It was sick. It was so good.
Never watching it ever again.
And then yeah, me and Luce went to watch Jay-Z and Beyonce. I mean, it's all of those shows. It has to be said that Jay-Z is basically just Beyonce's support act. She is so much more talented than he is. Like, obviously he's good, but she's fucking Beyonce. And like,
right, yeah.
you know, say what you want. You know, like her music, don't like her music, but she's obviously
a queen.
like uber famous. Yas queen. She's uber famous and also just has this like aura of like, you should know who I am. So like when she's on stage and she's singing and she's dancing, she also just doesn't fucking stop. She's like a robot. Like when people, there's like rumors about her like injecting child's blood, and you're like, well, yeah, she is like 50 or whatever, and she just fucking goes for it for like a 2-hour set. She's singing and dancing and like fucking running around and shit. She looks amazing. They like descended from the heavens on this huge platform bathed in light. And I was like, what the fuck is this? It's incredible. It's amazing.
Nice.
I'm glad that we've all seen some bangers, though. That's good.
Yeah, it's good.
I will say, I didn't see this in person because I think this was like happening sometime in the 70s. But the best live performance I've ever seen, like on YouTube, has to be. So, do you know the song "Focus" by Hocus Pocus? No, I think it's Hocus Pocus by the band Focus.
I don't know.
No.
So it's
oh
one
yeah,
of those songs,
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah.
So it's that song that's like has the yodeling. It's like you know.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't. No one knows the name, but everyone knows that bit.
Everyone
basically.
knows that
But
song. Yeah.
so this is in 1973, and they were. So that song's like 6 minutes long, and they were supposed to be on the show, and they only had like just over 4 minutes left because there was like a tight schedule. So they had to basically they were. I think the people were expecting, the producer was expecting for them to like cut out a part of the song so they could like fit it in, but no. They just fucking sped up the song and condensed it so they could get it in that time. And it is by far the wildest performance I've ever seen in my life because it is completely perfect. They're all completely just like it's so fast.
I've seen that.
Perfectly hitting everything
Yeah.
incredibly. And it's just like
mad.
every time I watch it, my jaw is just on the floor. I'm just always in utter amazement that they did that. And at the end, everyone just stands up and claps because it's like
It's like
fair
fucking
fucking
wow.
play.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I've seen that one because it's like, have you seen this? Look how fast they can do it, and you're like, nah, this is not real, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, and the guy's like whistling through his teeth like
Yeah,
that fast as well. Yeah, it's insane.
That's mad.
But anyway, enough of that. I reckon we get on to what Mork's picked. What do you say?
Let's go.
Yep, I've got the timer up.
Right,
So
I'm ready.
cool.
Let's
go
go.
whenever.
So, my first thoughts for this pick came from
Sorry,
two...
do you mind if I go to the bathroom whilst you do your speech?
No, you can't go to the bathroom and do it. That's the whole point.
No, you can
pause
just
it
carry
and
on. I'll guess what you've picked.
No,
You're the host, Vinny.
You just go and Vinny can
I'll do it when you get back. Your toilet, I can basically see it from your camera angle. Quick.
No, I'm taking the piss. Right, carry on. Sorry.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Mate, he's mugged you right off.
Right.
Go.
So, my first thoughts came to these two, actually, iconic performances by one of the best artist duos on the planet. The two performers in question have gone down in history and folklore, as these performers do not regularly do public appearances. They've been referred to by some as the greatest live performers of their generation, by those who have seen them. They performed two of the most banging drum and bass sets in history. The iconic Brentford Basement Session in 2022, and equally, if not more legendary, the Woods Leaving Party in September of 2021. They go by the names of MC Dilf and DJ V-Dog.
Who are they?
Now, words here on this podcast could never do justice to the performances of these two legends. These two nights and sets were so good, so iconic, and so gosh darn legendary that I just couldn't pick a winner between the two, so I decided not to pick either. However,
before you go on, it just dawned on me that like this podcast started after that basement session. I think it was that actual evening we were talking about should we just do this podcast thing?
Yeah,
we had the idea, but then we were like, fuck it, let's just actually do it now, because we had the idea like a year before.
Let's actually do it. Yeah.
So maybe it is the great. Maybe if I pick that as the GOAT, that's the reason why the podcast got done, and then I'll win. What are we saying?
Yeah, if you say that, then I'll say it's winner. Yeah.
No. So I didn't pick either of those, but I then had an idea, and I remembered another performance, and funnily enough, I actually got to witness this one with my own eyes. In August of 2016, it was my 21st birthday. Me and my friends decided to throw a birthday bash over that weekend. We prepared the venue in the woods and built a stage undercover. We installed a sound system powered by a generator with pyrotechnics, smoke, and lasers. A proper sick rave tent. The only thing missing was the DJ, but luckily, I just happened to know the greatest DJ in the world.
Oh, for God's sake.
He was given he was given a strange nickname by the locals, but I knew him as a different name. They referred to him as Spinny Vinny, but I know him as DJ V-Dog. He gave the best performance live I have ever seen, perfectly timing smoke to every dirty, filthy drop, mixing memes into songs.
Oh, yeah.
He slayed those decks until they genuinely set fire and burnt the woods down. However, that night and weekend as a whole is a little bit of a blur to me. So, personally, that is my GOAT live performance. And I thank everyone involved for that weekend because it was sick. But for this podcast, I need to pick a different answer. So anyway, right, I just wanted to get those two out of the way. But the performance that I have chosen is an artistic duo. It involves two of my favourite rappers and maybe even the biggest icons in hip-hop. One of whom I have also seen live. However, I'm probably not allowed to bring that up again.
You fucker. But you dare bring it up again.
I know what you've picked.
Yeah. But this performance came with a special twist. The duo on stage actually became a trio because of genuine divine intervention, the likes of which have not been seen for nearly 2,000 years. I'm talking about Dr. Dre and Snoop Doggy Dogg's performance at Coachella in 2012. Firstly, I just want to say Coachella as a whole is kind of a whack festival, right? I mean, it's clean, it's sunny, and celebs all dress up nice and take great pics for the Instagram. It's an American festival after all. But for me, a festival by definition needs to be muddy, filthy, and raw. I don't want to see people
That's what my
posing for the
sex tape's
gram.
called.
Yeah. I don't want to see people posing for the gram. I want to see fat blokes with Chelsea tattoos on their back and their shirts off in wellies trying to do a drunken backflip off a wheelie bin while a crowd of scousers egg them on. But I digress. It's 2012, and it's also not Glasgow. It's Coachella. And booked to headline are Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. It's the final day of the festival, and although seeing Avicii that night would have been good, some of the acts that day were a bit meh. But it's the final day. It's the final act. The legends of the West Coast are about to make their way onto the stage. It's Dre and Snoop time. Also, it's funny how every pick I've done, everything I've mentioned has got someone with the name Dog in their name, which is kind of cool. Dre and Snoop come on. What?
That was like a weirdly long silence then.
It's because I was trying to find my place again on my page.
After that interesting tidbit about Dog.
Yeah.
Just let that settle with the audience.
Yeah.
Just let that go.
They're gonna need a minute to understand this.
Make sure you get
It's a real
it.
thinker.
Right?
It's a real
Yeah.
thinker, that one.
Yeah. Remember my whole meme thing? Yeah, exactly. Dre and Snoop come onto the stage to the next episode. Da da da. Actually, that's the wrong song. Let me try and get it in my head again. Bum, bum. No, that's not it.
Yeah.
Why have
Yeah,
I
that
written
is
da 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 da? I know the song, but
'Cause it
now
goes
I'm having
da, da,
such
da,
a
da.
good blank. It's
Yeah,
the
that's-
motherfucking D-O-double-G.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
that's it,
so they come out to that. And it's the perfect intro. Obviously, I'll put the actual clip in the thing, and it won't sound like shit like I just done that. But YouTube audiences, yeah, that's I'm so sorry. Anyway, so a few more Dre and Snoop classics later, and they have a Nate Dogg tribute with Warren G on stage. Rest in peace, Nate. This would be the first of a few live guests. Snoop then performs solo, and of course he drops it like it's fucking hot, yo, which is a banger and goes down a storm.
It's bad when you said that he performed it solo. I just imagine him whipping out his cock and wanking by himself. Has
he probably
porn
would.
ruined my mind?
Yes.
Yes, it has.
And being unemployed.
Oh, not a good combo.
The wankathon.
You'll look back at these years in your memoirs and just call them the wanking years.
The mass wanking years.
I shouldn't have wanked away my late 20s.
Wanked away.
Snoop is then joined on stage by the second guest of the night, Wiz Khalifa, and towards the end of their song, Young, Wild and Free, they share probably the biggest, the fattest, longest, most packed doobie that has ever been smoked live on stage. I bet that's a goat in itself. The next guest is the up-and-coming Kendrick Lamar, who performs with Dr. Dre. And then he is replaced by none other than 50 Cent. And I'll give you
50
one
Cent.
guess as to what he's wearing.
Is it a vest?
That's right, it's the white vest, obviously. Fiddy leaves the stage after 3 songs, and Dre and Snoop perform for a couple more. However, this is where an already amazing show filled with incredible guests, surprise guests, goes on to cement itself as the greatest of all time. After an incredible rendition of California Love, California Love. The lights go off. The piano starts playing. And 15 years, 7 weeks, and 3 days after his death, just as Jesus did 2,000 years ago, the crowd is stunned as the ripped, shirtless figure of Tupac Shakur appears in front of their eyes, live on stage. A genuine resurrection. But he doesn't just appear. He puts the microphone to his lips and speaks. You know what the fuck this is? What up, Dre? What up, Snoop? What the fuck is up, Coachella? I won't say what Snoop and Dre said in reply because it's bad.
Did they go on to deny the 6 million, the figures?
No, they just said that word, you know. That means you can't ever quote anything they ever say. Tupac's ethereal form goes on to solo perform Hail Mary to the astonishment of the crowd. After all this time, he's still fucking got it. The crowd are in.
It's not him.
The crowd are in tears, not believing what they're seeing. He then performs duo with Snoop Dogg himself as they share the stage together, probably for the last time, because miracles don't happen that often. I'm sorry, I was welling up. It was just...
Did you write that in your script that you're welling up?
No. That's just a bit of added spice for you.
I wish you did. I wish you did.
In brackets, so I'm welling up.
Brackets well up. Start crying here.
They perform 2 of America's Most Wanted, and it is flawless. They're in sync, and it's as if Tupac never left this realm. They rap together, back and forward, answer and reply. It is perfect. But as the song ends and the 80,000 strong crowd still can't believe what they have witnessed tonight, the music dies. Tupac raises his hand and then drops it back to his sides. He stands there for all to see and then drops his head. As the piano plays again, there is a blinding flash of light, and the body of Tupac becomes smoke. His spirit is sent back to the heavens. Then Eminem comes on the stage.
No, he didn't.
I didn't really have like a good transition into that like bullet point of, because the thing is the Tupac thing didn't happen at the end of the show, which is annoying. Eminem does come on after, and I was like, I just have to say Eminem came on because he does.
They should have had Tupac end it.
Yeah,
like
right.
I know, yeah.
Having Eminem come on is like
Yeah.
Come on, mate, you can't top that.
Yeah.
Surely.
So yeah, Eminem comes on, you know, classic. And he goes on to perform a few songs with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and they close out the show with "Who Am I? What's my motherfucking name?" And the last song that they play that night is still DRE, or Still Dre for all you know, all you lot out there. And the show ends. The greatest live performance of all time closes. But why is this the greatest live performance of all time? Well, it's pretty obvious. Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, 2 of rap's biggest legends, absolutely fucking killed it, and they were way past their prime, but they annihilated the stage. One of the best double acts in hip-hop and music in general. Then, an absolute plethora of awesome guest acts surprise everybody, including Eminem, 50 Cent, Wiz Khalifa, Warren G, and they all absolutely killed it. They are, you know, in their own right, some of the greatest rappers of all time. You've already got like 4 or 5 of the best rappers of all time on stage, all in one massive, incredible set. But on top of all of that, just that alone would be GOAT worthy. But on top of all of that, 80,000 lucky people got to witness a real life miracle. Just like how Moses parted the Red Sea, Tupac was reborn in front of them. One of the most iconic musical artists of all time easily returns after his death to perform again. something nobody ever thought would happen, and surely something that has never and will ever happen again. It was only brief, it was only around 5 minutes in fact, this resurrection, but it was epic, legendary, and the GOAT. I finished. I know I didn't quite make the time.
That's fine. Sebek went slightly over, so it balances out. Cool. So if you like that episode, no. Yeah, it's cool. I like that. That is a good pick. Tupac's hologram. It's something that's forever cemented in my brain. I just remember at the time being like, they can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Holograms are real? This is the future?
Well,
it's a shame because I feel like you haven't really heard of holograms ever since.
I read
in
that
live
it wasn't
performances.
technically a hologram. It was like something else that you can do, but it isn't done very often. Or, maybe it was just a real life divine biblical miracle.
I mean, it wasn't. But you can believe that if you want. That helps you sleep at night.
Come on, that's like some of the pitch, guys.
That it might have been real. It might have actually come to life.
Come back from the dead.
Just briefly. He just briefly did it. You can't beat a live performance. Like, Jesus done it once. That was pretty... Think about... People still talking about that to this day, right?
Allegedly.
You know what I mean? He came back, and then Tupac does it. Like, mad.
The thing is, right...
And he still had it as well. Like, he still killed it. You know
What
what
do
I
you
mean?
mean he still had it? I
didn't
was
lose
getting annoyed
it.
about this at the time, and then Vinny told me not to. What do you mean he still had it? It was just a recording of him. That's not still having it.
How is he talking then? Live, like, to them. What are you saying?
It's a recording.
From when?
It's by
like,
definition.
15 years ago, they planned, like, he was going to die. And, like, he would be like, what up, Coachella? How did they...
That's just probably like some sort of AI manipulation at that point.
Yeah.
Mate, it's 2012. AI wasn't even invented.
I'm not gonna dissect what you just said. I'm struggling.
Also,
But I'm
It
not.
was divine.
also, part of being a live performance is they have to be alive. You can't...
see.
I was gonna say that, to be fair. That's sort of a kind of a crucial part.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's not a live performance. It's live.
So when
performance.
you go to the cinema, do you go, oh, what a great live performance from Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible? I can't believe they synced up all those different chase scenes.
Nah, it's like when you go and see Warhorse. Those horses aren't real, but it's a live performance. They're just robots.
No, yeah, because the horses aren't fucking holograms.
Yeah, they're puppets. It doesn't matter.
It does a bit. One of them's
still-
just a projector.
Yeah, that's still
a
live
live
performance. Yeah.
It's still a live
No, right,
performance.
yes.
It's just
Snoop Dogg and all the
it's-
rest of them, they're live. Fucking Tupac's fucking...
It's still
projector.
live. It's still live. It's still live playing that projection and music in front of those people. Even if he died and came back from the death, it's fine.
It is. It's just it's not. It's almost not within the spirit of live performance.
Why not?
Exactly.
It was groundbreaking. It was like the first
because
time they
it's a
done it. It was
recording.
wicked.
It's No, it's crazy. I love it. I think it's fantastic, and I'm sad that they never did it more, to be honest. But it probably was fucking expensive and difficult to do. But it's not. It's not really live.
Can't
Like
believe you.
it's a recording. It's like when David Guetta was like, was it the Euros or the World Cup? Whenever he very obviously was playing a pre-made mix, and
Yes.
it's just when a DJ is playing a pre-made mix and it just feels shit.
Yeah, but the
It's
whole
like,
thing was
you're
fine.
not doing anything. At
How
that
else are they
point.
supposed to get Tupac back though?
Well, they can't. That's the thing, isn't it? They just can't.
Yeah, but it was.
It was cool. It was really, really, really
Right.
cool. But it's
I can't believe this, right? Sev told me the other day, right?
yeah.
What did I tell you?
You're both laughing. What's this?
I haven't said anything, so I'm just excited to hear what's happening here. What fucking shit,
Right.
Michael.
Sev told me the other day, right, that he believes in chemtrails, right?
What the fuck are you on about?
Seb said to me.
You told me that actually. You told me that in private once.
Seb told me the other day,
by the
right?
way, chemtrails. What do you
Right.
reckon?
Seb told me the other day that he believes in chemtrails, right? But you won't believe that Tupac was live. That's just blows my mind.
It's resurrected from the
I
dead.
just
don't
blows my
I
mind.
don't want to get into it, but this makes me sound like what you said is true, but chemtrails probably are more likely to have happened than Tupac coming back from the dead.
Nah.
Careful, Seb.
I just feel like if you were like, oh, the best live performance was when they played Citizen Kane on a big projector. Like, yeah, Citizen Kane's a great film, but it's not a live performance.
No,
Tupac's
but
a
I
great
think-
artist.
Yeah, but you're being too literal. Like, the performance was that they got this cool hologram to do this cool thing. Like,
Yeah, and there's the whole performance outside of it of like all the rappers, and that's fantastic because like it's obviously it's all these big names.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like you said,
It's
I
not
assume
like-
you didn't lie. That it was no one knew that fucking Kendrick and Eminem and 50 Cent would come out.
I don't think they knew, no. And nobody knew that Tupac was going to come out. And like, I'm not saying like, oh, Tupac's live performance was the best, because it wasn't, because it's pre-recorded. But the performance,
The
performance
event.
is the hologram being a thing. Like, it's like a stage show, isn't it, where they use props and stuff and projectors or puppets and Warhorse. It's part of the performance, so you can't slate it for not being a true live performance because Tupac wasn't really there, because that's part of the performance. It's like a performative aid, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And Seb did tell me the other day he believes in chemtrails, so I don't know.
I don't believe what he says, I reckon.
Yeah, I don't listen to him, mate. He's off his nut.
But yeah, okay, so obviously that's a very like legendary Coachella performance. All the boys were. I didn't even really know all the boys were on stage, because the only thing I ever knew about that was the whole Tupac
I didn't know
hologram.
that.
It was like, holy fuck.
I had to double
Tupac's
check because
hologram.
it said on the set list with like Eminem with thingy, and I was like, nah, they didn't come on, did they? So I watched the whole thing, and I was like, oh yeah, there you are, cool.
Nice. Yeah. But then on the other hand, there's the Elvis comeback special, that is, in which he was chained by the bounds of Hollywood and his plastic producer Colonel Sanders, whatever his name was,
Fucking wanker.
Colonel Cunthead.
Colonel Cunthead, right.
And then finally he was given the freedom just for like a smidge, and he saw that light, and he fucking reached for that light, and he belted out a performance that was worthy to be talked about on this podcast years later.
Mate, do you know what? These performances are the same. What you just said, yeah? Elvis was chained to all that, right? Tupac, right?
Was chained to the ground.
He
as
was
being
chained.
dead.
His spirit was chained to the
To the
afterlife.
laws of biology.
And then he was given just a smidge, the blinding light, to belt out that performance. It's the same thing.
I think they just had an old tape of him rapping.
It's the same
Hail Mary,
thing. You know
and
what
they
I mean?
just redid it.
Let's
They
call-
just fucking
Right.
put the tape in, play.
I know this is controversial.
Did some cool visuals for it, but still.
I know this is controversial, but it's the same thing. I think either, I don't mean to tread on your toes or anything, either we call it a draw, or we say that it was MC Dilf and DJ V-Dog as the winner. I think that's
look,
just
Michael's
what I'm saying.
Michael's on the back foot because he's asking for a draw. Michael's never asked for a draw before.
That's just what I'm saying.
Okay, I've made my mind up. And it's only because of what you've just said. You asking for a draw
What?
has made me so aggrieved. It's filled me with so much disdain for you,
You already
that
had me lost.
I can't have you win.
I knew I'd already lost
Based off of
when I finished my thing and you went, cool.
No, I just really need a piss. I don't know. No, both great picks. I will say both are great picks, and I've not even seen the Elvis. I didn't even know the Elvis thing was a thing, but and I've obviously seen bits of the Tupac performance, and yeah, that blew my mind back in 2012, 11 years ago. Fuck me.
Yeah, I know.
That's a scary thought.
I know, right?
But I'm a big fan of narratives, and I'm a big fan of stories, and the Elvis story, you know, from being this like top bloke who then he gets fucked over by Hollywood, and then he sees one last performance to be like to the world, I'm still a top bloke, and I'm here, and I'm performing, and this is what I do, and just
I'm still a great bloke.
I'm still
and
a great bloke.
I love that. And yeah, he gets on the pokes, has some free cokes, hangs with the blokes, and I have to award Elvis Presley's comeback performance as the greatest live performance of all time.
Thank you.
No, I don't accept it. I thought you were going to say, like, you're a fan of the narratives.
They're both good picks, mate.
And, like, Tupac coming back, like, from the grave is, like, just mad, isn't it?
Yeah, how did he do that? How did he just start breathing again? He's bones at this point, I think. He's not even skin.
Can you imagine if they just got his skeleton up and just, like...
Savage.
It's like a deceased body.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's just like...
Like puppeted, yeah. Like,
I hope people
Platter
don't think
out
I'm
like
throwing
bones.
shade on Tupac, because I love Tupac.
Yeah,
Nah,
everything
whatever.
Right.
Tupac did was great. Everything. He didn't do a single bad thing.
Can we move on from the rape allegations?
What
please?
about Elvis, Seb?
It was like the 50s, mate. Things are different.
Right, oh,
Tupac
right, yeah.
was the 90s. Gang rape's never been okay.
What? And so we just excuse Hitler and that in your mind, or you'd fucking love that just because it
No,
was the 40s?
no, right, fuck off.
Excuse Hitler.
No one's excusing Hitler.
Yeah, let's just not excuse Hitler at all, please.
I'm not, Seb is.
I
He's
didn't
the one who
wanna
believes in chemtrails.
Right. I don't want to pardon Hitler. Because
Pardon.
pardoning him would suggest he'd done something wrong. No! That's a bad joke. That's a bad joke. We're not doing that. I don't know why I'm buying into it. Let's move on.
Oh, God.
But anyway, we got a winner. Thank you very much for listening.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Next week, we've got another guest
Yeah.
coming on.
Yep.
And it's not some bloke from as much as Mork would love that to be the case. It is my good friend and expert at all things video games. He is honestly, you'll take one look at him, talk about video games, and you'll realise he's on the spectrum.
Right.
Like, he knows his stuff about video games. In fact, he offered before I said, we were doing Video Game Myth next week, did you want to come on to that? Before that, he said, it could be a fun one to do, like, greatest video game mechanic. And I was like,
Yeah.
a bit niche. But yeah, my good friend Josh is coming on next week for Goat's Video Game Myth. And
I
hope
promise
to see
that
you
one
then.
day I will get some random bloke from down the pub to come on this show.
I can't wait. I'll share the mic with you.
Right here.
Happy
Hello,
days.
pal. Do you believe in chemtrails like Seb? Bet you fucking will.
He's flat. Yeah.
No,
Sure. Right.
Cool.
Cool. Anyway, and on that bombshell, see you next time.
see you next time. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye.